That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Clearly learned here.
Welcome to MOTN Reviews. This is Masters of the Nerdiverse Reviews, where we take a look at some of cinema's shiniest supernovas and some that are not so brightly lit. This quasality loop of a podcast can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Google Play. However you're listening to us, thank you and welcome to the show. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G. And back with me, as always, is the review host with the most, who I've seen once eat a Necronomicon. He ate it.
Yeah, man. With cake.
With cake. The little face screamed and everything.
Love Necronomicon.
You know, it's the Book of the Dead, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I read it once.
Dude, me too. Is this why we're weird?
It might be why we're weird.
Fair enough. This is Brian, of course. What's going on, bro?
Not much. Thanks for having me back. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But, I'm glad to be here to review a certain movie that,
kind of came out.
Everyone in the world saw.
A couple times over. Maybe a few people saw it. And this is a film that is, 10 years in the making? Probably 20 years in the planning.
Yes, like 20 years in the planning. Because they've been thinking about it for a long time. The moment in Marvel's Ultimates, the comic book run, where Brian Hitch decided to make Nick Fury black, is the moment that this was the genesis, of all of this. Honestly, I can't imagine the night's sleep the Russo brothers had the day they wrapped. Shipped it out. Like, here you go. There's the movie.
Here's the master.
And it's like, think about how much brain power it takes just to get through your day. Okay? Now add in keeping track of an entire cinematic universe with characters, stories, backstories, and now time travel added in.
No.
Going through your head in addition to trying to run your life.
The man, now the Russos, yes. But even worse? Kevin Feige.
For the love of God.
Can you imagine?
The master.
He must have felt like Thanos after he snapped. I can rest now. What else do you want from me?
I can't imagine.
What else do you want from me at this point?
Married kids? I don't really know.
I don't know much about the guy.
Master.
He's kind of an enigma.
If his family in general, family, friends probably have not seen him in decades.
Yeah, because he's been in the lab.
Just
getting this stuff right.
Guys, I'm thinking.
Give me a minute.
I'm almost done.
Hey guys, I'm going to Cancun. It's not for fun. I just need to be in a hut somewhere and map this stuff out.
And just mapping out the storylines. I can't imagine.
Because he had to map out not only the MCU stuff, he had to map out the stupid ABC shows and the Netflix stuff.
Oh, that just had to be irritating.
He had to map all that out.
What are we doing with S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I don't know.
Who cares?
Who cares? What are we doing with what are we doing with Daredevil? We're bringing him home.
Netflix. We're not running any of this. Great. We're done. Wrap that.
That's one part of my brain I can put towards something else.
So, hopefully Feige's getting a chance to mow the lawn and take out the garbage and just
make his weird little fruit soup on his private planet that he has.
Absolutely. Fruit soup on his private planet.
Yeah, man, that should be the name of this podcast, the fruit soup on private planet stuff.
I might use that one day.
Hey man, it's yours. This is free.
Absolutely.
This brain is free. Avengers Endgame. Okay. What can we say about this film that hasn't already been said so far?
I haven't listened to a lot of what has been said so far.
A lot has been said so far. It's kind of... This podcast is very after the fact. It's very once the morning glow has worn off, because I didn't want to do this immediately after, because I wanted time to think about it. I wanted time to really soak in my thoughts about this film in a vacuum, in all of the baggage that comes with it. There has never been a movie in history that has this much baggage across the board. I mean, outside of like the Force Awakens,
Star Wars is going to be Episode 9 is going to be coming very close. That's what I'm for saying. Certain.
And who owns both? But I'm just saying, like, this had so much writing on it to not be perfect. This had so much pressure to close out a series that literally people have grown up watching, and for it to succeed the way that it did. It's almost unreal. No matter how you feel about the movie, as of today, it's the second highest grossing film of all time.
Absolutely. And I take nothing away from the cinematic universe, and I thank everybody for their hard work involved. It's going to provide me hours of entertainment for the rest
decades.
of my life. For the rest of my life, I'll be watching this over and over and over again.
Yes.
So that's all good stuff. That all notwithstanding, it's been a hell of a ride. You know,
what are your thoughts about this thing, man? Before we break this film down, what are your general gut reaction thoughts about this film?
Much like with any 2-part film that I've seen recently, be it Harry Potter, I guess I didn't watch part 2 of Twilight because after part 1 was... part 2 just really wasn't that necessary in my life. And, with The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King ending, and then ending, and then ending, and then ending, and ending, and ending again.
Yeah.
This movie should have been 1 4.5 hour long Ben-Hur type of cinematic film that we had not seen in 2 or 3 generations.
Trust and believe that if it doesn't already exist, there's going to be some God cut of Infinity War and Endgame that is like 4 or 5 hours long.
And it deserves that. And the reason I say that is because my general feeling is the absolute brilliance of Infinity War was lost in the mediocrity of Endgame for me.
Ooh, tell us how you really feel, man. And I know what you're talking about.
Still a good movie, but there were 2 hours of that movie that were fairly damn well pointless.
Okay.
So, when you talk about my general gut feelings of it, is that it was good.
Yeah.
I would have digested it a lot better in sitting tied into the first part of Infinity War. That would have made me very complete, whereas now I feel...
How many times have you seen this movie?
1 time.
Okay.
I have not seen it multiple times, and in honesty, I have not seen Captain Marvel, have not seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, have not seen Ragnarok, and have not seen Guardians 2. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I'm gonna give it a B.
Okay.
It's not a number score.
We're not scoring it.
No,
we're not doing scoring yet.
That's a launching point of, I'm going to say it's a good, solid film. Okay. Infinity War is
great.
Next level.
Okay.
Great.
I totally feel you. I'm gonna give you my backdrop of how my emotional gamut that I ran with this movie. The first time I saw it, I've seen it 3 times. The first time I saw it was like opening weekend, was with my family. And my family did a great job of organizing all 12 of us to just rent out a room and go see this movie. We made it a big deal. The anticipation of waiting a year to see how this closes out. My Marvel brain that has been programmed since I was a child was wrapping it around infinite possibilities of how they can go with this film. And the first time I saw it, I was perplexed. I was dumbfounded. I didn't have words. And we went to lunch afterwards, and my poor, sweet, Marvel-loving Nana was like, "So, Michael, what did you think of the film?" And my initial gut reaction is I didn't like it. I didn't like it the first time I saw it. And I couldn't put a finger on it. And I didn't know how to feel about it. It was something about it. The sound was off. It was just a bad movie viewing experience. And my family were shocked because I am the comic nerd of my little tribe, of my little Mike G family. And I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. I can't put a finger on it. It was something about the length. And then I saw it again by myself. And then I saw it again with friends. And then I realized why I didn't like it that first time. The second time, I actually liked it a lot more. And the third time, I absolutely loved it. And what it was is that what spoiled me on this movie, and Brian alluded to it, was that there was so much time in between the excellence of Infinity War that all I had to do was think about this movie. There was an anxiety of what this movie is going to bring that totally took me out of the immersion of the film, if that makes any sense. Because I'm imagining all types of crazy stuff. But of course, the movie will never succeed with how powerful the human imagination is. So in that first viewing, I could not relax enough to really enjoy the film. And I had to see it 2 additional times for me to be like, I know this isn't going to happen. I know this is how this is going to go. I'm okay with it. But now I can actually see it as a stroke of direction and action filming. It's an excellent film. It's the best they could have possibly done.
Yes and no.
The best that they could have possibly done.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. That's where I was with The Last Jedi. After my third viewing, I was like, you know what? The anticipation is gone. Like, I understand where you're coming from with that. I will say where I move your opinion over is just so much time between the excellence of Endgame. What did we get for the first 2 hours?
We got story building.
So you had this excellence off of Endgame, this large battles, things you had never seen on film before. And you're like waiting and you're like, oh, I'm so amped. And yes, some backstory, some 5 years later, some this, some that is good. But there was nothing that took you back into
until the last act of the film.
What you had left. That feeling that you had left with Infinity War. They never got there. And the backstory, frankly, we've been with these characters 10 years.
Yeah. But you need closure.
Dude, how much closure did you need, bro? 2 hours worth of
You're never going to see these
talking?
characters again. Some of them, at least.
You're not going to see any of these.
Some of them, at least.
I'm willing to bet that we will see every one of these characters again in some form or reiteration in some other movie. Whether it be a voice recording, whether it be a picture, and I'm going to actually have a question about that in regards to the reduction in the film.
Let's start breaking this down.
All right.
Let's start breaking this down because the beginning of the film is feast or famine. The beginning of this film. And it starts off 23 days after... I didn't know that was the actual time frame.
Yep.
I didn't know that it was 23 days after the snap.
Yep.
That's how long it's been before Tony Stark... before Tony got rescued by Captain Marvel. Which I think is a
Tony and Nebula,
which I think is a weird cop-out. But if at the end of Captain Marvel, one of the stingers... It doesn't matter because it's... One of the stingers is that Carol goes back to Earth, realizes what happens, and says, "Where is Nick Fury?" And they have to explain. Well, he's in the carpet right now. So it makes sense for her to then, okay, what's going on? What happened? What planet was it on? I can go around looking, and maybe I'll find someone I'll see what happened. And she just happened to luck upon Nebula in Tony Stark in the 0 hour. Before they're just about to die or whatever. And from there, she pretty much tows them from whatever galaxy they were in back to Earth, where they meet up with the rest of the Avengers, where we find that the Earth it's just screwed. It's
20,
it's been a hard 23 days.
It's been a rough 23 days.
You know? And they get the plan to say, we know where Thanos is. Let's go get him. We're gonna take whoever we got. Everyone is feeling a certain way about all this. We know where Thanos is. Let's go get him. Who here has been to space before? All that fun stuff, right?
You're right. So we're going back on the journey to get Thanos. And even as you're explaining this, I am just like, my God, really? The entire world just got decimated. 23 days later, we now know where Thanos is. Let's go get him.
Let's go get him.
What happens?
So they finally find Thanos' planet, and it's totally empty. It's empty. Well, I'm sure there were people there before, but Thanos made sure that he was going to get his beachfront property. So they find him. He's totally decimated by the decimation. As we see, using the Infinity Gauntlet takes a toll and pretty much wrecks you physically from the toll of wielding this cosmic artifact, these cosmic stones. So they bust in, Captain Marvel busts in, and they catch Thanos unaware.
Right.
And they get him, they lock him down.
Doesn't have on a suit of armor.
He's just at the house chilling.
He's just chilling.
He's at the house making a top ramen, man.
He puts up a little fight, but they lock him down.
They lock him down, and they're like, okay, where's the stones? Like, we need to, no, we're going to fix this nonsense that you've created. He's like, no, they're gone.
Yep. They got destroyed.
How? How do you do that? I used the stones to destroy the stones. That's pretty much it, guys. All that was left for those stones was people trying to get them out of weird senses of avarice. And there's no need for them to exist anymore. I did what I needed to do, so they no longer need to exist.
And I do want to say, Josh Brolin still brought it. You can tell Josh Brolin's like, oh no, man, this is Infinity War. I'm the man. He's still doing his thing in this movie. Yeah. It's everything that's going on around Josh Brolin that I find to be a little bit of the issue.
And I'll say that Josh Brolin's portrayal as Thanos is top 3 Marvel villains between Killmonger and Loki.
Beats Killmonger, beats Loki for me. I'd say he's
as
good as I've seen since.
And he just has to act through mocap. Put that in your pipe and smoke it too. He's acting through mocap, which is extremely hard to do. He's awesome. Andy Serkis levels of getting it. But anyway,
awesome.
So Thor has enough of this nonsense and just anticlimactically just decapitates Thanos.
Decapitates his head. So we left Infinity War. We're now back. We got the band back together. We're gonna go kill Thanos, and then his head gets chopped off. Fantastic.
Everyone's looking around like, so what do we do? And then it goes black, and all you see in big bold text is 5 years later. You're like, what? What, really?
And I just want to stop right there.
Just chill?
That Thanos...
That's insane. Just nothing?
It's so anticlimactic. Because it took half an hour. It took a solid 20 to half an hour to get all of that done. And so this is what I'm talking about where you're like the anticipation. It's not so much anticipation. It's like, why are we doing all this over again? You're about to have the exact same fight, which they pretty much did, only Thanos didn't have the stones this time.
And got
and
whooped.
It was much shorter and way less...
They had a Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's godlike.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
Super. And here's the thing, that one of the hardest things to do in storytelling, not just film, storytelling overall, is the subversion of expectation. What they tried to do was subvert our expectations on how this movie was going to start. It didn't land. Because of the high that we were left off of Infinity War.
And as we're going through
it's a punch in the gut. Yeah.
I don't want anyone to take anything the wrong way. I'm not saying this is bad. Movie. I'm just saying, it's a subversion
of expectation that we weren't ready for. It was a punch in the gut. It was a slam on the brakes. That's what it was. Are you still You just came from the house and watched Doctor Strange fight and
here
Thanos.
we go. What the brilliance of the Russos to this?
No,
like
slow down.
We're not going to do that.
Calm
again.
yourself. Slow down. Calm yourself.
Look, man.
Ain't nothing sweet right now.
This is not my first time at the movies. This is just subpar writing at this stage.
I think
this is not the brilliance of the Russos going, had your expectations ready for something brilliant and we gave you slow.
I will be the contrarian and say that it was absolutely skillfully designed because we had to not know what was going to happen. There had to be a level of what next?
Well, then what happens next? Since we aren't supposed to know what happens,
okay, we're not supposed to know. We're not supposed to know what happens. We're in that mystery
5
box.
Years later.
5 years later, we're back on Earth. Earth looks like something out of I Am Legend.
And seriously, I can't believe it's been 5 years and they haven't cleaned this place.
Cleaned nothing up.
Like seriously, what
that
are you guys
doesn't make
doing?
sense. New York City.
What are you guys doing?
New York City. There's still cars in the streets. Yankee Stadium is all jacked up.
It made no sense to me.
Everyone just went home.
Everybody's like, no, people just disappeared.
My family got blinked out. I'm going to
struggle.
I forgot to mention the beginning of this film. The showing of Clint Barton's family is really important. Getting dusted. Clint Barton retired. He's no longer Hawkeye. He's at the house. He's teaching his little one how to get active. He turns around, dust mode. Hey, where is everybody? It's important to the story because Clint is the heart of the story. They make Clint the heart of the story.
Why did we make Hawkeye the heart of this story again?
Because he needs to be the heart of the story.
Okay, all right.
Don't ask questions.
All right.
Product. Get hyped for next product.
All right.
I'm just saying. That somebody
Spoilers. A spoiler alert, people. I don't know if we did this. There's going to be some spoilers.
Yes.
In here.
Yes.
So if you have not watched this movie, don't listen to this.
We're clearing the entire film, so there will be spoilers.
Go ahead.
Very good catch. So we go to the future, which is no longer 2018, 19.
The heart of the movie.
He's the heart of the movie.
Hawkeye's
Can you deny that? He is the heart of this film.
I'm not going to deny it.
His art
I am going to question the judgment of it.
Don't ask
but
questions.
Go on. Don't ask questions. Just consume
product.
Just consume product.
Consume product. Get
accepted. Waiting for this for 2 years. Yeah. Just eat it. Eat it. Go on.
Pull up to the trough, piggy. Anyway, we get to the future where everyone's all jacked up. Steve Rogers is doing kind of like a trauma awareness meeting.
Yeah, he's doing like a self-help group.
He's doing a self-help group because there's nothing else
helping people.
Nothing else going on.
That's the best way he can help people.
That's how he can help people now. There's no cool stuff going on. Everyone's tired. All the villains are like, man, how can I be a villain in this nonsense?
And he's still wearing the same white T-shirt he has been the entire.
He's wearing his little. He's very humble. He's like his Clark Kent, very, very Clark Kent. So they're having a meeting about, we still cry a lot about all this nonsense and ain't nothing sweet, and the Earth is still trying to figure itself out. Then we go to this weird scene where we go back to Avengers Loft. What is it? It's not Avengers Tower. It's not Avengers Mansion. It's like Avengers Training Center.
What's DC? What's
it's like the Pentagon.
What's the girl with the sex crime Xenium?
What?
Smallville.
Smallville.
Allison Mack. What was the name of the base? What's the name of the base?
We're not talking about Allison Mack on this podcast.
What's the name of the base? I
don't remember, dude.
Because that's what it looked like. The headquarters. Her headquarters. Literally, it looked like
Star Labs or something like that.
Come on, man.
I don't remember, dude.
DC.
We're not talking about Allison Mack right now.
Fair enough. That's not. I'm just talking about her character.
Yeah, her character.
Like whatever that base is called. They literally took the shot out of
Smallville. Anyway, right. So, Allison Mack. Jeez Louise. So Black Widow is there. She hasn't done nothing with her hair. She just let that shit grow out.
Yeah, she's in charge of a bunch of stuff.
She's in charge of stuff. So we have on these weird Star Trek holograms, we have Okoye from Wakanda. We have Rocket from the Guardians.
Rocket.
We have Captain Marvel, who I'll talk about later. Yeah. And we have one more person. Who was the fourth? Was there only three or was there four?
There was four.
And they were talking about like, hey, what's going on? There's earthquakes underwater. Yeah, there's always earthquakes underwater. That's just how things go.
And Wakanda.
And they alluded to something weird. They're like, yeah, there's weird stuff going on all over the galaxy because of what happened with the snap. So I think that alluded to two things in this scene. They alluded to Namor due to underwater thingamabobs, because I'm sure the snap affected Atlantis as well.
Swear to God, we need a fish man to save all of this.
So Namor, and that the snap affected the universe in a funky way. Because we're going to talk about the snap later, but they're like, Natasha, relax. There's nothing going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, there's Natasha's on high alert, and there is nothing going on.
She's super on high alert.
And she's like, no, we got to protect the world.
Because that's all she got. That's all she doesn't have any family. Freaking Hulk is off doing his own thing. We'll talk about the Hulk later. Oh, we're going to talk about the Hulk.
Folks, I know this wasn't on video, but if you could see the expression on my face when you mentioned Hulk, it's not pretty, man.
We're going to talk about the damn Hulk.
Anyway, 5 years later.
So 5 years later, Rogers gets there and it's like, hey, you got to look on the bright side of things. And Natasha ain't trying to hear that shit. No. Pardon my French. She's just like, you know.
They made him very human.
They're
going through tough times.
And they're all dealing with loss in a weird way.
Big time loss, man.
So what happens? We go to, this is the dumbest thing in the whole movie. We go to
what happens then?
We go to the quantum realm truck, the little hoopty they got that's in storage somewhere. Ant-Man. So a rat runs across the machine, somehow activates the machine to the point where it reboots itself and spits Scott Lang back to the future. He's been stuck in the quantum realm for 5 years. And now he's out. And he's like, well, what's going on? He comes home. He's walking around DC or wherever he's in San Francisco. That's where he's based out of. And it's pretty much like The Last of Us. Everyone's all the houses are boarded up and quote, it's the quintessential stereotypical post-apocalyptic look of the earth. And he realizes that he's been presumed dead. Because, yeah, that's what happens when you're missing for 5 damn years. So he goes back home, and this little girl from Ant-Man and the Wasp is like a woman now. I don't know how that works, because she was like 12 in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Not even 12, maybe like 8. And 5 years later, she's like 19. I don't know how that works. But
meanwhile, nothing's going on in this movie.
No, we're still at Dead Hulk. There's no action.
There is nothing going on in this movie.
No.
You were now like 40, 45 minutes in, and you were sitting there, and you're like,
Brian,
I am legit. I'm getting up and going to the restroom.
Brian, you can't have your pudding until you eat your meat.
Fine, man. Fine.
So Scott Lang.
Go on.
Scott Lang gets back.
By the way, I have all day. I have absolutely nothing else to do with my life besides sit here and watch 3 hours of movie. But go on. Anyway, Scott Lang's walking around. Everybody's missing. What's going on for the 4th time? Could someone please tell the audience
tell this man what's happening?
What is going on? Because this guy doesn't know what's going on. So let's individually. No, this person doesn't know what's going on here. Let's see what their reaction is.
Because they have to have it, man. There have to be a Captain Exposition.
Do they, or can they assume that the audience has been following them for 10 years and knows what happens?
But we're not viewing this from the gaze of the audience. We're viewing it from the gaze of Scott Lang.
3 hour and 1 minute long, ladies and gentlemen. So, go on.
Scott Lang figures himself out back to Avengers cult installation that Alison Mack is running. He's like, hey guys, I'm outside. I know you know Ant-Man. What's going on?
Is that a vision? Or is that like
a
past
recording?
Program or recording? That's what he said.
This is right now.
That's right now.
So Scott Lang just comes through and he becomes the MacGuffin. He has the key. He's like, look guys, you have any idea how quantum physics works? She's like, yeah, just for conversationally, joke. And
by the way, I was watching this with a buddy of mine who's a semi-psycho scientist, and he goes in the theater into the explaining of how quantum physics works as I'm sitting next to him.
Fun.
And I'm like, yo, bro, I get it.
I get it. Shut up.
Small dude, time travel, big dude. Yeah. Move on.
It's a consume product, dog.
Consume product.
Get excited for next product. So he's talking to them like, we can just time travel, guys. They're like, that's stupid. It's like in a world of talking raccoons, you're going to tell me that time travel isn't absolutely impossible? They're like, fine.
What do you mean? Like Back to the Future?
Nothing like Back to the Future.
Now, I want to stop
Back
for a second.
Back to the Future is BS, dude.
I want to stop right here. This is where I kind of started. I was like, no. No. Because we know Marvel likes to play into the, social pop culture of,
it's fun.
Break the fourth wall thing. Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun, man.
And I look and I go, we're not about to get a Back to the Future movie, are we?
Yes,
because now, at an hour in, all I'm looking for is anything, superhero related.
You up, huh? Yeah. What's funny is that when this whole thing started, before it was Infinity War and before it was Endgame, when it was just Avengers 3 and 4, they said that this was going to be, Avengers Infinity War was going to be a heist movie. And we were like, what? What do you mean by that? Because we saw the movie and that didn't happen. So now this movie comes out and what is it? It's a heist movie.
Correct, but I also want to go back to your statement from 5 minutes ago of consume product. You don't know what you're going to get. Set it up. Do all of this. Hey, Back to the Future. No, nothing like Back to the Future. But we're about to get a Back to the Future movie that you just told us it's going to be Back to the Future 1 hour in.
Brian.
I thought I was just supposed to sit and consume product. Hey, look, man, I've given up 10 years of my life to this and I'm not saying it's bad. I am saying, though, as a review, when you're sitting in the theater coming after Infinity War, I'm going a little WTF. But go on, consume product, bro.
Consume product.
Eat.
Get excited.
Are we at the Hulk yet?
Not yet, man. We're getting there, my G. Dude, and they swore up and down this wasn't going to be a time travel movie. They swore up and down that time travel was not going to fix this problem.
I remember that, correct.
And technically time travel did not fix the problem, but we'll get there. So they go to Stark, who's back because he was all emaciated and jacked up in the beginning of the film. It's been 5 years.
Stark is.
He was all jacked up, but now he's fine.
Yeah, he's kind of fine. Mentally, Stark is upset.
And
Stark is about as upset as I am right now.
Yeah, and we find Stark, and Stark is living his best life. He's in the woods. He's doing little technical things here and there. He has a kid, a cute little kid, Morgan, which is amazing.
By the way, I didn't know he had a cousin named Morgan.
Fun.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah, in the comics.
Yeah.
It's a dude, and he's an asshole.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Take over Stark Industries.
That'd be interesting.
It's a nice little nod. Yeah. So they go to Stark and be like, look, man, you're the smartest dude we know that can possibly help us figure this out, because apparently Hank Pym got dusted as well. We need your help. He's like, what if I don't want to change the past? What if it may jack up what I already got going? I'm okay. I'm not going to take that risk. I have things to lose now. We get it. You're an ultra trillionaire. You have nothing to worry about. But you can save countless lives across the universe. You don't even want to try? Nah. I got kids, bro. I'm at the house making PB&J sandwiches for my baby. I ain't got nothing to worry about with y'all. Y'all do what y'all got to do. I'm out. You know what I mean? So they're like, oh, okay. Who's the next smartest guy we have? And we get to the Hulk, where they introduce us to a new version of Bruce Banner / the Hulk, which I will say, but only because it has comic book significance does not excuse the fact that they did the Hulk dirty in this film.
Okay. And the comic book significance, I'll give you. I'll give you, but this being the first part of Hulk that we're getting, my expectations are still, I'm like,
oh, okay.
And you'd have to listen. I think we did an Infinity War walkthrough, didn't we? You'd have to go back and listen, but I was a little depressed at how Hulk did in Infinity War. Yeah. I was kind of like, you know what? That didn't work out for the Hulk so well. I wish we would have had more. So here we are with Professor.
So we get the Professor, which I will explain that in the comics there was a stage in the 90s where it was Smart Hulk. And the Smart Hulk was pretty much an amalgamation. It was a different personality in the comics, where it was all the smarts of Bruce Banner, but with some of the strength of the Incredible Hulk, the Savage Hulk that we know from the comics. And in this film, we got a kind of a weird version of that where, according to Banner, that he has been, over the last 5 years, kind of toying with and messing with his body chemistry and doing different balances of gamma radiation to reach this new stage of, I would say, consciousness where he can maintain the attributes of being the Hulk, but still maintain his Banner personality, maintain himself. Which I thought was kind of interesting that Professor Hulk is not its own identity. It doesn't seem like in this movie. It seems like it's just Banner utilizing the attributes of the Hulk. There's no, like he, ipso facto deleted the Hulk personality. And I don't know how to feel about that because one of my favorite things about the Hulk is that he has a split personality, shattered dimensions kind of guy where the Professor is its own personality. Mr. Fix-It is his own personality. Savage Hulk is his own personality. But in this film, he's kind of deleted the Hulk from himself and took all the best attributes from the Hulk. And he's still just Banner. He's not the Professor personality.
The best attributes of the Hulk?
Yeah.
Like, we got the Hulk look, which I'm not going to say is the best attribute of the Hulk, is how he looks, but yeah, that is what he took.
I mean, he's beyond peak physical specimen, cannot be damaged, doesn't age. He's damn near, he's an amoeba. You know, he's a single cell organism.
He's smart. And he takes pictures with the kids.
And he's also very fun. And he has little catchphrases that he makes for himself.
It's very fun.
And I hate it. And I just...
No, go on with what you were about to say. Move with the dark side.
And I hate it. And I don't want to go with the dark side because I still want to keep this... I don't want to keep it positive. I don't want to keep it negative. I want to keep it real.
Real.
Right?
That's all I'm saying.
And to keeping it real, I feel like throughout... The Hulk has never really been himself since the first Avengers film. And even then, he wasn't true. There was a place to grow from the Avengers film. And I feel like the Hulk has gotten the worst deal out of all the heroes.
I would agree with that 100%.
They've ran the Hulk through the gamut with these films. Him playing bit parts here and there. We never actually got to see the Hulk is the strongest there is. The madder Hulk gets, the stronger Hulk gets. Amazing feat Hulk. And the only time he ever did it...
That wasn't in Ragnarok?
No.
Okay.
Because he wasn't Savage Hulk in Ragnarok. He was Gladiator World Breaker Hulk.
Okay.
And that's a difference because he had a level of intelligence where Savage Hulk was more like, I'm going to punch this dreadnought in the face and stop a 1 trillion-ton creature in the middle of 42nd Street. That's the Hulk, right? But he's never hit that kind of stride in this entire series that they've shown him. And I think it's partly because Marvel doesn't fully own the Hulk and they didn't want to push him that far.
And to be fair, he is also the only one who is not or has not gotten any type of fleshed out story in the upcoming
because
Disney
they've relegated
channels or anything of that nature.
Supposedly they're going to be doing a She-Hulk show.
Yes, that there is rumors.
But with the Hulk, the way he ends up here, and from what I'm hearing is the deal with the Hulk, he may not even be a big part on that. But they meet the Hulk, and he's explaining to them that, let's figure it out. So they're toying with time travel, and they're playing around with it, and they're not getting it right, because it's time travel. It's impossible. You know what I mean? Like, it's and what did he say in the movie? He was like, either it's all nonsense, or none of it's nonsense. It's time travel. It's like, it's impossible. But Tony Stark kind of comes... Tony Stark, okay, this is another problem I have with the film. It's that Tony Stark, because he got the motivation to do it, figures out time travel in his pastime.
Yep. Just hanging out. Oh, because I got it.
Okay.
I figured it out.
He hasn't been working on it for 5 years. Right? Nope. He's been working on within the time frame on them pulling it together themselves. He figured out time travel like in 3 days when he just applied himself. I'm sorry, but in the comics, that's not Tony Stark smart. Tony Stark is an engineer. He's very good at creating things quick that work. He's not dealing with quantum travel and all. That's more of a Reed Richards kind of function.
Just consume.
It's like,
don't ask questions.
Don't ask questions. Consume product. And that's what Marvel has always been split. There's 3 smartest guys in Marvel have always been Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. He's more of the quantum physics cosmic smart. He's probably the smartest person in the Marvel universe, hands down. scientist supreme. There's Tony Stark, who is the engineer who can build anything. He's the great builder. He's pretty much what's the builder in Greek folklore that had the crows eating at him? Prometheus. He's pretty much Prometheus.
There you go.
And Bruce Banner.
Poor bastard.
And Bruce Banner is the master of self, genetics, radiation, earthly things. That's where he's smart at. There's no reason that Bruce Banner should have even been able to touch time travel. And even he said it's not my area of expertise. I'm a genetic physicist. This is what I do. So there's so many MacGuffins going on at the same time right now. There's so many plot holes going on at the same time right now that is frustrating as a comic book fan because I know there's no reason Tony Stark should know how to do time travel.
He figured it out.
He figured it out in like 3 days.
Yep.
Drove back to the Avengers compound and was like, look, guys, I know you're messing up. I'm here to save the day. We figured it out. I have a time travel GPS. Let's do it.
Excellent. Can we all save ourselves a bunch of time now and start this movie with Captain Marvel finding Tony Stark and like, oh, I figured out time travel in the last 22 days. Here's an idea. Let's do that. If you're going to do it, why are you wasting an hour and 15 minutes of my life with this?
There's so many different ways they could have approached the time travel thing that didn't cause Tony Stark to figure it out in 3 days. You could have had Tony working on it for 5 years saying, hey, I've been working on this quietly, and I've been trying to get this right for 5 years.
And I guess as we get on in the movie, I mean, did Tony know the plan? Did Tony know the one plan? Maybe he was working on it when he looked at Strange and went...
Time travel wasn't even broached until Scott Lang showed up and said, hey guys, time travel.
But there's only one way this works.
But that's Doctor Strange. He didn't tell Tony the plan.
He ran through, and this is my question.
Yeah.
Because towards the end, and I know we're jumping a little bit, but they show the fight,
yep.
They do the flashback thing, and he went through, and he's like, there's only one way this works, right?
Yeah.
And that's when he takes on the...
But he also says, you can't, if you knew the plan, it wouldn't work.
So you tell me, has he been working on time travel 5 years or 3 days?
If he knew 3 days.
Okay.
Because Doctor Strange said, if you knew what needed to be done, it wouldn't work. He tells him that right before the scene you're talking about happens. But
Tony does say.
He does say
it. So all right.
It
was confusing when it happened.
So they explain how time travel works for the MCEU. Whereas it's not going to change our timeline. All it's going to do is if you're going back in the past and you adjust something,
just go watch Back to the Future.
It's going to create a splinter timeline that doesn't affect this timeline. So that's how this works here.
Not right
Fine.
now.
Suspend disbelief. Yeah. Consume product.
Product.
They're like, okay, we got to get the band back together. Who do we need as a powerhouse that's going to help us out? Let's go get Thor. And so we go on our little road trip to Norway, where we kind of go to New Asgard, which is cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, New Asgard.
Comic book significance. Yeah. There is a New Asgard in Marvel Comics. Comic book significance. Synergy. Sorry. Anyway, I got marketing a little bit there.
Okay, well, synergy you're about to talk about? The Big Lebowski? Is that what you're about to talk about?
Big Lebowski. And this is why I needed 2 or 3 showings. Because the first time I saw Thor in this film, I absolutely hated that they made my boy a joke. They made him a punchline. They made him overweight. Oh, let's laugh at the fat guy. I'm a big guy. Mike G is a big guy.
Though. Kinda.
But after seeing this movie a couple times and realizing what they're really doing with Thor in this movie, it became a little too real. Because what Thor is going through in this film is PTSD, anxiety, depression.
Correct.
And he gained weight. He lost focus. He probably hasn't swung that hammer since he took Thanos' head off.
Uh-huh.
And through the whole film, he's conquering his depression.
Was the Big Lebowski the best way of going about and telling us this story?
No,
okay.
But it's a direction.
I was just asking a question.
It's a visual direction
of depression.
I
don't think
anxiety.
The Big Lebowski handled it any of that way. The Big Lebowski wasn't depressed and did that. He loved himself. The dude loved being the dude.
But the Big Lebowski was a joke in this movie, but it wasn't based off the Big Lebowski though. It was just based off Thor having a look. And they made him look like the Big Lebowski.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to lose my S right now.
I'm just saying.
Wait a second. Are you really about to force feed me and tell me, oh no, guys, this isn't based off the Big Lebowski. This is just Thor going through his depression phase. So don't think anything about it, even though Tony Stark says, okay. Lebowski.
He said it as a joke.
As breaking the fourth wall type of thing.
Yes,
but
it's
you made
fun.
the entire.
But the thing is, there's a difference between Jeffrey Lebowski and Thor Odin's son. Jeffrey Lebowski, like you said, was a carefree dude who was living he's the dude abides. And I could talk about the Big Lebowski all day. But character-wise, they're two totally different characters. So, look-wise, it's like a Funko Pop. It looks like the character, but it really has nothing to do with the character. It was just a joke by Tony Stark because he made an observation, as Tony Stark does with everybody. Remember when Hawkeye was Legolas? Thor was Point Break before he was Lebowski? It's what Tony Stark does.
I don't know how to get past the fact that you're saying that you need to separate the Big Lebowski and Thor.
Yep,
when they made him look just like the Big Lebowski, they referenced the Big Lebowski.
It was a joke.
And throughout the entire damn thing, he's going through as the Big Lebowski until he becomes Thor. So,
it's a joke.
Thor
was already kind of laid back, wasn't he? And you didn't see Ragnarok, though.
I did not see Ragnarok.
He made a big shift in his personality.
I did not see Ragnarok, so maybe that's the hole I'm missing here.
Yeah,
but go on.
But moving on,
we're gonna have to.
We can talk about that.
Yeah,
moving on.
We're not gonna talk about that.
So we're picking up to the first bit of action we've got in this entire film, which is the introduction of Ronin, which is Hawkeye in Tokyo. Because apparently for the last 5 years, Hawkeye has just lost his damn mind.
Yeah, bad Hawkeye, evil Hawkeye.
And Hawkeye is just going around administering street justice. So we get a scene where Hawkeye is doing a very kind of shallow, the raid kind of scene where he's in Tokyo. It's the neon lights, and he's taking out Yakuza bosses. And it's a badass scene. I'm not gonna lie. It was cool. I love Ronin because that's some new Avengers, Brian Michael Bendis stuff. So I'm really on about that. And Natasha is the one to flag him down because he's like, he'll listen to you. He's probably not going to listen to anybody else on that squadron. So she calms him down and gives him hope and sends him home. So everyone meets at the Avengers compound.
You know what? I didn't realize how many issues I had with this movie until we started talking about it. This movie is going through a transformation as we're speaking.
I had to see it 3 times to appreciate it.
For the love. Go on. I mean,
3 times to appreciate it.
It's the ending, so go on.
And we'll get to that too. So they pull everybody together, and now they have to figure out the time heist. We have the tools. We have the talent. It's Miller time. How do we figure this out?
To the time heist yet.
We're just getting to the time heist.
Hour like 20. All right, go
yes,
on. Hour 30. Yeah.
So they say, okay, these are the time frames in which we can affect the timeline, get the stones, do the snap ourselves, wish everybody back. Don't change anything. Just bring them back. I don't know how that doesn't change anything, but anywho. So we're going to say, okay, Team A is going to go to Dormir to get the Soul Stone. During the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1.
Yep.
Team B is going to New York during the Attack on New York, during Avengers 1, where the Soul Stone, the Time Stone, the Soul Stone, the Time Stone, the Time Stone, the Space Stone, and the Mind Stone are all there at the same time. And Team B is going, if I remember correctly, to the Thor Dark World time frame to get the ether out of Natalie Portman, whose character name escapes me right now.
Were those, and this is my question, were those scenes that we saw, those backflashes during all of this, were those new shots or were those shots that were used
It's a little bit of both. The only used shot was Natalie Portman because she wouldn't do it.
I thought that was the used shot, and I was confused. And
Renee
that is
Russo
the question
came back.
I wanted to know.
Tilda Swanson came back
to shoot an entirely new thing.
Tom Hiddleston came back.
Everyone came back,
but Natalie because she was just over it.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
Those teams are split up into Nat and and Hawkeye were going to Dormir, which is a weird team to send there. Cap, Iron Man, Hulk, and Ant-Man are all going to New York to get all 3 stones. And for some reason, Nebula and War Machine were going to the planet where Star-Lord first got the Power Stone. Beginning of Guardians 1.
Beginning of Guardians 1, yes.
And this was the game plan. We're going to all get them. We're going to come back. Tony's going to retrofit some kind of Infinity Gauntlet, which is the other thing that bothered me so much. How does he know how to do that? Anyway, how does he know how to do that? So everything's going off kind of as it would. Time travel doesn't work unless it doesn't go right. It can't go right the first time. So they get to New York, wackiness ensues. They get to Dormir. They get the truth of how you actually get the Soul Stone, which is out of control. And we want to talk about that for a second.
And all of this, I actually don't have any issues with all of this that's
the movie's
going
actually
on.
picking up at this point.
Right at this stage, I've now accepted that it's been an hour and a half.
Yeah, the movie's actually picking up.
I'm about
now.
to watch Back to the Future.
Yep.
And, we're going to get on with the story. So at this stage, I'm actually fairly pleased that we are actually moving along. So, I will say, sure, they did Natasha wrong, but I guess someone had to die.
I'm super okay with it.
You're going back to this whole Hawkeye is the heart of the film. Okay,
he's
fair
the heart
enough.
of the film.
So if you're going to do this, let's do it like this.
Natasha was the one character that
was expendable.
I hate to
she was
say
getting
that.
her own movie coming out anyway, so
you have character development there. But I don't like that any of them had to die. I think they could have found a loophole out of that.
I think once Tony Stark was rescued by Captain Marvel,
that was the writing on the wall that someone was going to die.
Well, that was the writing on the wall that for the most part, everybody was going to live.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, there's not going to be any real stakes. But then
no stakes, right?
Yeah. So then Black Widow eats it in a very familiar fashion to how Gamora ate it in Infinity War, almost shot for shot.
And her presence was felt, lost throughout the rest of the movie.
Absolutely. Her presence was felt, and you realized how much you came to admire the character.
Right, absolutely.
I've liked her perform. I've never had any issue with Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow since Iron Man 2. I thought she looked the role. I've always liked the actress. I never had any problems with it. But after her fall in Endgame, like you said, her presence, her aura is felt throughout the entire film.
You're left literally missing Black Widow.
Because there's a scene at the end of this movie. There's a scene at the end of this movie that's very forced and very predictable, and it needed her it needed her there, and that's when I felt it the most. They had that scene. We'll talk about it in a little while. I don't want to make this too long, but her presence was super felt there. So let's run these off. Soul Stone. Bruce Banner has to go to the Sanctum Sanctorum to talk to the Ancient One about retrieving the Soul Stone. She gives him a hard time about it because you can't.
No, that's the Time Stone.
That's the Soul Stone.
Soul.
No, I'm tripping.
Yeah,
You're absolutely
Stone,
right.
Yeah.
He needed the Eye of Agamotto, which is the Time Stone. I'm super sorry. The Soul Stone's in my brain. We're moving on from that.
They're gonna let you keep your geek card.
Thank you. People will start stabbing me. So you can't just punch the Ancient One. This is not going to work out for you.
No, I thought that would actually, whole exchange was really funny.
It was nice.
And where's Tony Stark? And she's like, Tony Stark is doing surgery.
Oh yeah, they're talking about where's Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange, 20 blocks that way.
You're about 5 years too late.
I thought that was really good.
Smart.
It felt good. I was like, okay, my overall enthusiasm is picking up.
Yeah, because the movie's starting to do something.
Yes.
So we go to the Space Stone, which is currently being acquired by the Avengers at the end of Avengers 1, the original Avengers. And you got to see the aftermath of when they got Loki, and you got to see that for some reason Shield was there, evil Shield was there. We got a very quaint little Hell Hydra moment from Captain America, which had comic book significance, and I thought was cute. It was a cute moment. And somehow, in the Donnybrook of them getting the Space Stone, Loki gets a hold of it. and bails out and creates his own little side. Remember the scene where there's a mad scramble for the suitcase?
No, like, I remember it, but
Loki's gone. We don't know where Loki is right now.
He just took it and disappeared.
He just took
and
off.
They left all of that
open. We don't know where he went. We don't have time to worry about it.
Interesting. I had not thought about it again until now, and I'm like, now that you mention it, that dude...
They just let him rock. He's gone.
He's just out doing stuff
now. He's doing Loki-level stuff somewhere in time and space.
Which I'm sure we'll see.
We'll see in the channel, Disney Plus channel, Disney, yada, yada.
Whatever, $9.99.
So they're like, we got to double back.
Of course, Disney, if you would like to sponsor MOTN
always... Disney,
love to have
sponsor us. I will wear a Mickey Mouse hat on every episode. And we'll do videos. I don't care. Disney, just talk to us. I love you. I love to have you consume product. So they regroup. They have these time stone. They don't have the space stone, but they do have the mind stone. They were able to get that. Yep. Captain America was able to retrieve that. America's ass, haha, means whatever. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, whatever.
So they decide, okay, we have one jump left. We have to go back to the Peggy Carter era, 50s or 70s rather, to get Pym particles from Hank Pym, as well as get the Tesseract, which should technically still be at the old school SHIELD base in the 70s. So that's where they have to go. Tony and Cap do. So that's where they go. Everybody else goes back home.
Yeah. Tony meets his father.
Which I think is a nice little moment for him, given the circumstance of this film. Cap gets to weirdly ogle Peggy Carter from a distance because he can't really say nothing. Because it will totally jack up time.
And I will say, I started watching in chronological order, and this is something I started with Captain America: The First Avenger, and I remember watching that, and that's one of my least favorite films of the franchise.
Oh, I like that one.
And after going back and watching it, now that Endgame has wrapped up and starting
it adds another layer to it.
It adds another layer, not only to it and what we saw, but to Captain America and the beginnings of
his evolution.
Of his evolution and how spectacular the Russos kind of like put this together, man, because
it ties you right back.
It's a brain puzzle and a half, bro. But my God, I enjoyed that so much.
Not to get too derailed from the breakdown, but this movie really makes you want to go back, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And just watch it all.
Absolutely.
Because it's a love letter to every single film they put out, but we'll get to that later. So they go back in time. We see a young, de-aged Michael Douglas. He's Hank Pym, so they get a ton of Pym particles all day.
Yeah, got a ton of those.
And they go back.
And we know where to get more.
Huh? And they know where to get more.
Now
so they
got time travel's a thing.
Time travel's super out. The cat's out the bag.
The cat is out the bag.
Which is something else we'll talk about in closing. But on the mission to get the Power Stone, Nebula somehow weirdly has some kind of like server issue, which doesn't make any sense to me.
0 sense.
That she has some kind of weird kind of connection with her current time, back in time version of Nebula that alerts Thanos to this whole caper, which should have never happened.
Young, early, starting out Thanos, who is about to wreck
Oh my
shit.
goodness, this is my biggest problem with the
movie. And there's a glitch. A glitch in the Matrix. And somehow he sees the future.
Okay, let me get this straight. Nebula is on some kind of intergalactic Wi-Fi that transcends time and space.
Yes, it's
Firstly,
5G, it's UI.
There's only one Nebula. Yeah. There aren't a bunch of like Nebula clones that Thanos has running around.
No, and
it's just the one Nebula.
You would think that the past Nebula would not get the future Nebula's information.
And vice versa.
It would be the vice versa. If it was going to be anything,
it would be the vice versa. So, consume product. Thanos now knows the deal. He knows time travel. He's like, who are these guys? He even knew who the Avengers were back then.
And I'm going to let you know at this moment of watching this movie, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, the only way they save the first 2 hours of this movie for me is if you're about to give me 2 Thanoses. Because if I have young Thanos and old Thanos all fighting and They are going to wreck shop.
Because you can't do that. Because then you have the time cop conundrum. If they touch each other, they mold into a weird mush.
But the Thanos isn't. They aren't in it for trying to keep things. He's what just dude, I know the plan.
The Thanos that they killed in the beginning of the movie is not the same Thanos that's back in time. They're two different characters.
No.
The Thanos at the beginning of this film was not fighting nobody no more.
Honestly, the Thor Thanos, that was so weak.
I'm just saying.
The first part of this was just
the Thanos that they found in this film is useless. He's burnt out. He's not fighting nobody.
No.
But this past Thanos is like, yo, Nebula, be my spy.
He's got some thoughts.
Yeah. And they pull it together quite efficiently.
Quickly.
So they capture Nebula.
Also one of my best lines, one of my favorite lines in
what?
Movies. Is when at the end Scarlet Witch is like, "Oh, you took someone from me I love," and he goes,
"I don't know who you are, man."
He's just working through it. It's not. I don't even know who you are. I got shit. I
got stuff to do, right,
dude? I love young Thanos,
but young Thanos is a beast, and it's also very M. Bison of him. For me, it was a Tuesday.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about you, man.
Very much M. Bison.
Yeah,
yeah.
So everyone gets back home, right? Thor goes to Asgard and talks to his mom, and she helps him deal with his depression. I'm still worthy, right? And they get the Power Stone from Jane Foster, her name, and this is a weird little moment where Rocket Raccoon pretty much stabs her somewhere and extracts the ether, is what it's called, I believe. So to make a long story short, they get all back to Earth, present time. Everyone has the stones. Currently, they figure out that Black Widow died, and they mourn her for a split second. And they're like, and Clint Barton's like, no, there has to be a way to bring her back. He was like, the dude with the red face told me that they can't bring her back. If you want to go talk to him, I'm sure he's still up there floating around. You can go talk to him if you want, but apparently there's no way to bring her back. That's just how this thing works. The current Gamora spirit and Natasha's spirit are currently stuck in the Soul Stone right now. Technically. They didn't really go into it in this film, but Natasha's gone. Unless her movie makes $1 billion and they bring her back. Consume product.
I'm assuming she's gone. But...
So one of my biggest problems in the whole film is that once again, Tony is the ex machina. He's literally the god of the machine. Which goes back and which is a good play on Iron Man. He builds his own Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Something that some infinite dwarf took however long to fashion for Thanos. He builds it like it's nothing. He's just like, I got it. I'm good.
Assuming, and this is where
I'm so mad.
Hold on, this is where the whole Doctor Strange thing becomes like, did he know or did he not know?
No way he just
because the way he built it, it looks like he's been working on this
the whole time.
Like Doctor Strange told him, "Hey man, you're gonna build an Infinity Glove.
You're gonna utilize time travel. Yeah, this is the end game.
This is how this works." But apparently, how else would he know how to build an Infinity?
Tony Stark
to do it.
So you're telling me that Tony Stark not only devised steady means of time travel transportation and created one of the most famous, like, magically powered gauntlets in the galaxy, in the universe, within the span of a week?
Yeah.
He just pulled the shit out of his ass?
But it like grew out of something, so it couldn't have been. It was a very confusing moment, man.
I was like, so where did he get this one from?
I'm still a little confused about, does he know, does Tony Stark know what's going on or not?
I wouldn't even been mad if Thor had to go out and go get Peter Dinklage.
Absolutely.
Bro, we need your input on how to build another one of these.
But no, they were not.
They were too lazy to do that.
No, he just built his own.
He just built it like it was nothing.
Why'd he have to go into space the first time to get one done?
If Tony could have just... Well, Thanos didn't have the Tony connection.
Oh, that's right.
Thanos had to go to... I forget the name of Peter Dinklage's character, but he had to go to the Lord of all Smiths in all the 9 realms.
The way it left me feeling is that Tony had to have known, because I don't find it plausible that he built an
Infinity Gauntlet and time travel
like formed into his arm in like a week, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I knew this was going to be happening. I knew I was going to be wielding the stones, bro."
That's my biggest problem with this whole film. Outside of how they did my boy Hulk. So, okay. So, whatever. Eat it. It's there.
Product.
It's a Hasbro action figure. You want your own? Anyway.
Okay.
So they're all around the round table. Like, all right, who's going to put this thing on and actually use it, man? We don't know what's going to happen. I don't think mere mortals can actually wield this thing. It's going to kill you, man. Thanos is a titan. He's technically a god. Thanos is, even without the stones, Thanos is a titan, which is above the gods. So, like, who's going to wield it, right? Drunk ass whack Thor is like, I'll do it. I'm a god. You know, I have electricity in my veins and I can take it.
Lebowski Thor. Anyway, go on. Go on.
So, okay, there's another problem with me. Bruce Banner says, you know what, guys? I'll do it. I'm all gamma. Apparently, all the stones radiate at a gamma frequency.
Everything's gamma, bro.
On a Earth, gamma, I don't know if it's a universal thing. I'm not a scientist. Gamma can exist throughout gamma radiation can be one of the building blocks of all reality. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
But apparently, all the stones radiate at a gamma frequency.
Yeah.
And so does the Infinity Stone, the Infinity Gauntlet that they created. So Bruce is like, I'll do it. It's kind of like I was born to do this. And truthfully, you wouldn't have got that thing on Savage Hulk. There's no way he would have agreed to do that shit. Savage Hulk would have screamed and jumped off somewhere and ran into the bushes or something. Savage Hulk would have not done it. Lord knows if Savage Hulk got a hold of that thing.
Jesus.
It would have been insane.
Jesus.
He just would have jumped off into the distance. They would have to go get him. Can you imagine? If Savage Hulk is like, Hulk don't want to do it. Like, no, put the shit on, bro. Just go. Hulk puts it on, it glows. He looks at them both and just jumps off the roof. We don't know where Hulk went. Now we got to go find him. He's in the desert somewhere.
Yeah.
That would have been hilarious and awesome. Anyway.
So Professor Hulk puts this thing on.
He puts this thing on, and we get the second snap. Birds chirping, dogs barking. People automatically just start calling their loved ones. Where'd you get the cell phone from? Anyway.
Why is the cell phone with you?
Why is the cell phone with you at your secret base of contact?
And why is it ringing when we all know that it should just be popping up with voicemails?
It's been 5 years.
It's been 5 fucking years.
Why does she still have the same number?
Why
does she have the same number?
There are so many issues with this one freaking scene, and I'm like, this was unnecessary.
So we're reaching the climax of the film.
Are we?
Kind of. So what's happening?
We're at the Back to the Future part.
So they snapped all creation back into existence, not time traveling, mind you, but just re-adding things to the now. So technically it's not time travel. They're just adding humans. They're adding creatures back. Everything that Thanos undid what Thanos did without using time travel as the MacGuffin, which technically they did right, but it's still kind of a cop-out because people have questions, you know, and at the same time, Evil Nebula is opening the time gate because they used her pim particles for Thanos to come back in present time and kind of start wrecking shop to do his new conquering of the galaxy. And this is old school Thanos. This isn't, I've had an epiphany. My life has changed. I'm a different man Thanos. This is still the marauder, mad titan Thanos, who's crazy and kind of evil.
Thanos is about to wreck shop, and I am waiting for it.
Thanos,
I am in my seat, and I'm like, Endgame. Thanos is gonna win again, bro. Thanos is bringing it. We got this.
So we're getting there, and Scott Lang says it's working. You know, reality is starting to, or not reality, but everyone's coming back. All of the creatures, which I didn't realize how micro this adjustment is that insects, amoeba, plankton, all of that stuff apparently got blinked out of existence, half of it at least. So Bruce Banner does the snap, and we're able to kind of see like an indicator that life is returning to Earth and thus the entire galaxy. And this is follow up with, like me and Brian were talking about, was the phone call from Clint Barton's wife, checking in on him to one, I say, why is the cell phone still in use? Two, how does she call him so fast? Did they arrive back at the farm? I don't get how exactly all that irons out. And there was actually a recent interview with, I think, the Russos kind of explaining that Hulk mentally planned out the logistics of his snap to where human beings in, let's say, compromised situations, like if you're a human being and you're on a flight and you get snapped back into existence, you just exist.
That's the biggest bunch of nonsense I've
ever heard. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I get it, but that's a bunch of
baloney.
No, man.
Hulk put all of that in his head in his snap, his wish. It's a genie's lamp.
It is a genie's lamp, and Professor Hulk is smarter than Bruce Banner, and I get it. But there's a lot of wrong that's going on with this. I get that we're snapping. I get that we're bringing everybody back. I get that there has to be Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man 2 and Black Panther 2, so all these characters can't stay dead. I'm just saying there's some holes.
Of course there's holes, because you can't have something this big without holes. But then we have all the aftermarket stuff that fills those holes. Like saying, no, Hulk took into account all the people who died on the toilet, all the people who died while in flight, all the people who died driving on a helicopter. They were just wished back to their homes. I want to undo what Thanos did, but I want all the lives who will be brought back to be placed in safe places. Whatever that means. Across the universe.
Except for Natasha.
Because she got eaten by the Soul Stone, and that's that. So, pretty much, Thanos comes in as hard as he possibly can. He bombs the Avengers compound into dust, pretty much. Oh, no. It's kind of spreading the whole team apart once again.
He bombs the shit out of it. Kind of an ode back to the first Iron Man.
Yeah, it's very first Iron Man. It's very... Same, but almost quadruple forces, though.
Oh, for sure.
This is the...
And did you notice that they made the symbiotes not look so symbiotic this time? I was like, oh, boo.
I think you were onto something there. And they were like,
no, we can't
do that. We can't have none of that. What the hell, guys? I super noticed that. So the Thanos is just sitting downstairs chilling. He has a full idea of what's going on. He has the power. And Cap, Iron Man, and Thor, the Trinity, go to face Thanos. I'm like, well, what is he doing? He's just sitting there.
He's
just waiting for y'all. He knows he doesn't have to come find y'all. He knows y'all going to go seek him out.
Titan is amazing.
He's so real, dude. He's one of the best villains. And he's like, you guys just couldn't eat your L. You couldn't eat your L, and you couldn't just be okay with what you could do. You only can think about what you didn't do. And this is why now I realize I can't even keep half the universe, because idiots like you are going to always mess it up. So you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to snap it all out.
He literally turns his plan on a dime when he sees these dudes walking up.
Like,
he has literally looked and saw the future
of him dying.
And going, you guys couldn't even eat your L.
You guys couldn't accept your loss.
Like, you were still alive, but yet that wasn't good enough.
It wasn't enough for you.
It wasn't enough.
You had to play with the fabric of time.
Dude, I love
just to get back to this point, to get back to me.
Yeah.
And you're still going to fail. You know why? Because I am Thanos. There's nothing. I am inevitable.
Ladies and gents, I am all on board with Thanos. I am like, Thanos for me right now is the only part of this that is bringing like the Infinity War that I saw back to the
And he's a harder Thanos, because he's killing.
He's just, he doesn't even know what he's going to do yet. No. He just knows he wants to wreck
And he said, you know what? I've never done any of this out of spite. It's never been personal. I just want to split the universe in half. It's never been personal, but you know what? You guys have been such a pain in my ass since New York. I'm going to have fun wrecking and scorched earthing this little crap planet that you love so much. I'm going to make an example out of you through the entire galaxy. And he's like, this is my promise to you. And Hulk and Iron Man and Thor, Iron Man and Cap are like, are you done hearing this shit? They're like, yeah, let's just, you guys want to try to use any diplomacy or talk to this man? They're like, no, not at all. Let's just kill him. Thor's like, I'm so happy you said that. So now Thor is building both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker at the same time. You have Iron Man in his most advanced bleeding edge comic suit, and you have Captain America being Captain America. What's he going to actually do? but be a fly on the wall for Thanos, and they just bum rush him. They bum rush him, and they aptly get their butts kicked. Because it's Thanos. And technically you have 2 humans and 1 Asgardian. And Thanos is more than enough for the planet of Asgard. Nevertheless, Thor. And I'm not taking anything away from Thor. Thor is a powerhouse when they let him. But one problem I've always had with the MCU is that they've kneecapped these characters' powers.
Where's the Hulk, by the way?
The Hulk is under the gravel. Holding up
the freaking Hulk, by the way? He's holding up something?
Okay.
It's as bad as Superman carrying over a building.
This is my problem, and this is why I hated this movie the first time I saw it. Expectations, right?
Expectations.
I assumed that, okay, they're doing the classic they're doing the comic book shot where Hulk is holding the mountain over the heads of all of the heroes, and has to go savage to find that strength again and become.
I was like,
and
where
become
are you going with this?
The stronger there is. I was thinking this was the moment.
That would have been fantastic.
I thought that this was going to be the moment where Hulk, whatever this is, snaps and Savage Hulk resurfaces and has he loses his mind and becomes that Hulk. He becomes that unstoppable killing machine. Like Savage, I'm the strongest. The madder Hulk gets, the stronger Hulk gets. I thought that was going to be the moment. It could have been. That was the moment. If Hulk was going to lose it, and this is the last time you're going to see this character, mind you, for a very long time.
Technicality.
He should have went full Savage.
Is there anyone besides the Hulk who can hold a candle to Thanos?
Captain Marvel.
And she was nowhere to be found
at the moment.
Because she said she had to go off and protect other worlds.
Which is fine. I'm okay with that. I'm super okay with that. It makes sense.
There's shit going on.
Yeah.
We get it.
Countless planets.
We get it.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But for the Hulk not to be in this fight the way the Hulk has been manhandled. In every fight,
the Hulk never got his comeuppance.
Honest to God, man, it is such a disappointment for me, man.
It almost seems like Marvel did it on purpose.
Dude.
Because they don't own the Hulk. That's why they haven't made Hulk movies.
Because we are towards the end at this stage.
Yeah, we're at the climax of the film.
We're
there's an epilogue, but we're at the climax of the film.
There is like dread in me because we are not getting the Hulk, and I'm kind of bummed out. I'm kind of bummed out of the scene of not just getting
in my brain
Savage.
I was like, oh, this is the time. He's holding up the entire compound.
Damn.
He's gonna lose it. He's going to become Savage Hulk. He's going to say Hulk smash. He only said it once in the entire series.
Damn.
And I was like, Hulk's going to lose it. He's going to go red-eyed. He's going to freak out. And now you have a rampaging Hulk destroying countless ships and killing, just going nuts. But no, the Hulk had no significance in this fight. Zero. And this is the fight. But what immediately fixed my brain for the lack of Hulk was Captain America's scene. Where everyone's getting beat up, and Thor is getting Stormbreaker shoved into his chest, because anybody can wield Stormbreaker, because Stormbreaker doesn't have the oath attached to it.
Correct.
And you see Mjolnir hit Thanos and zip past, and you see Captain America grab Mjolnir and prove that he's always been worthy.
Now,
which had the biggest pop in the entire film.
In real time, I'm sitting at home opening night, and my Twitter's going nuts with Mjolnir.
Yep.
Mjolnir.
Meow meow.
Trending. And I'm like, I can't look at what this is.
Please don't look at it. I can't look at
what this is.
Yeah.
So I knew that there was going to be something.
With Mjolnir.
And when Captain America, I understand the significance.
It's very big comic significance, man. It had to happen. They alluded to it in Age of Ultron. It had to happen. I just wish they did it better.
For me, that's not enough to defeat the Thanos that I've been watching this whole time.
But it's a moment.
It is a moment. It is a moment.
He wasn't going to beat Thanos single-handedly.
But like
it's a cool moment, though.
The moment it is a moment, but I don't believe that it is as big of a moment as it rose to in the film.
But that's the problem I have with that scene, is that there wasn't a rise to it. It was a gut check. It was out of nowhere. Now, when we're talking about this, I think of a movie starring Dolph Lundgren called Masters of the Universe. And at the end of Masters of the Universe, where He-Man is in chains and the Sword of Eternia is stuck in that weird little Sword of Eternia holder, and he goes to grab it, but the power is too much and he can't grab it, and he's like struggling with it. But he finally gets the energy to pull it out of its sheath, and he says, "I am the power." And it's like this huge, awesome, epic moment. I just wish Cap had a moment like that where he struggled with it a little bit, show him not being able to lift it, show him getting the resolve to become worthy, and he lifts it.
Right.
That would have been so cool.
And this is you just said the resolve. So they go back. I knew you were worthy, right?
Yeah.
At what point in this battle was the tipper to now be able to wield
You know what it is? And I'll tell you what it is. It's going to sound stupid. It's going to sound like a cop-out. But I think what was stopping him in Avengers Age of Ultron from lifting the hammer till now was his guilt over Bucky. It made him not worthy. His guilt over the death of his friend and his guilt over his lost past in A Man Out of Time. Once that guilt melted away, he became more resolved hero.
But didn't we get Bucky in that final scene?
No, not in Age of Ultron.
Not in Age of Ultron.
But in Endgame, yeah, Bucky's there.
So
Cap's a different man than he was in Age of Ultron than he is here.
Right. Okay.
Because a lot of stuff has happened. He's not as jaded as he used to be.
Yeah, okay.
So now Cap's he's still getting beat up because it's Thanos, man.
Yeah, he's still getting
Thanos shatters the shield. Which, like in the comics, I get it. And then we have your on your left moment where all of the teleporting shields from Doctor Strange shows up, and we get the rollout.
The one and last moment where I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what would have been cool? Opening with this. Opening 2 hours with this and moving on. I would have been yes.
Man, it can't work that way because it's too much baggage.
Okay.
You have so much. This is it.
Our filmmaking is going to differ. I respect your opinion.
It's too much.
Go on.
If this is it, it's too. Oh God, I hate that scene. This is. I know I'm going to talk about what I feel about that at the end. But let's say all the warriors are here.
They start opening, and it is
all the warriors are here.
Yes, everybody starts coming out of portals, and this is really when I'm really starting to connect. Like, do
Doctor
they
Strange,
know? Like,
no, they don't know.
What the fuck is going on,
they don't
Doctor
know.
Strange?
He hasn't said nothing to nobody because he can't.
Except Tony Stark, maybe.
But that's your theory, though. I don't know. But so we get a lot of action. Everybody's having everyone's having their time to shine except for Hulk. We have a scene where and I was leading to this earlier, where Spider-Man had his time to shine. That's the scene. Captain America finally gets to say, "Avengers Assemble." That made me cry a little bit. I can't even lie. I teared up.
It was a nice
moment.
It was
epic.
And in that, there were 4 or 5 great poster-worthy, shots. This is what we've been waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
We did not get enough of it, though. I don't know how much that cost. I'm sure it wasn't cheap.
Trillions
I'm
of
sure
dollars.
It wasn't cheap, but,
quintillion dollars.
We could have used a little more of that about 2 hours and 40
You know why?
minutes earlier.
And it's going to go back. It's that because this is the bookend. You can't there's no time for fun.
Well,
you got to close things out. This is it.
I mean, no
This
bookend.
is the end game.
This isn't the end game. The Far From Home is the end game.
Technically.
But whatever.
Yeah, I hate how they do that.
We'll
anyway.
see what happens.
So everybody has their shots. Wanda has her shot where like you were mentioning earlier, you took everything from me. I have no who you are. But then she proceeds to wreck Thanos. She was strong enough to wreck him with wreck Thanos himself.
When we talk about who was there that was strong enough, Scarlet Witch
was handling business to the point where he was like, "Nah, fire on everyone. Get her off me.
Get her off me." Are you sure? No,
our guys
fire,
just fire, just
man.
fire. She alone is wrecking me. I don't know what to do. I can't handle it. So we get the shot of them just kind of doing the Saving Private Ryan moment where everyone's ducking and like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" And then the infinite Mary Sue shows up, Captain Marvel, comes like a shining beacon from the cosmos and destroys their primary warship. And she makes her grand entrance. Captain Marvel. Her name is literally Marvel.
Yeah.
Pew pew guns.
Two shots. Took
She
out the
established
entire ship.
Okay, more fights. She establishes her dominance over Thanos to where Thanos honestly can't touch her without utilizing the Power Stone to get her off him. Because she then comes up and starts putting hands on Thanos like no one else.
Right.
Oh yes. Also, we get to see Pepper Potts in the rescue suit, which kind of made me happy. Because I love rescue. I love the idea of rescue.
Okay.
That's a comic thing. That's what
I like the Ant-Man scene here. Like that's the best part about Ant-Man is Big Ant-Man.
Yeah,
and we don't get enough.
Did you notice that there's a scene where Ant-Man is literally shoving one of those Death Knots back into their space teleport hole?
I did catch.
Very nifty stuff. There's a lot of nifty stuff going on here, and Howard the Duck is there.
I missed that.
Howard the Duck is actually in the fight.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's doing. He's doing duck level stuff, but he's there. So a lot of fighting is going on, and we reach the point where Thanos gets a hold of the new Infinity Gauntlet, and he's like, I am inevitable. And Iron Man struggles with him, and somehow he does the snap again, but he looks and the stones are gone. And now they've teleported to Stark, because before that, Doctor Strange gives him the look like, bro, now it's the time. That's what I'm talking about, is that there's a moment where Tony Stark's like, is this the plan? He's like, I can't tell you the plan.
Are you sure this is gonna work?
He's like, I can't tell you. Like, if I tell you how it works, it's not gonna work.
No. Iron Man looks at Doctor Strange and goes, are you sure this is gonna work? Only one out of 14 million.
Yep.
And Doctor Strange nods. And then all of a sudden, here's this Infinity
But that's not
Gauntlet.
exactly what's said, though. He says, this is our one shot, right? And then Captain America, and then Doctor Strange says, I can't tell you how this is going to work, because if I tell you how it's going to work, it will not work. And Tony says, oh. And then in the moment I'm talking about right now, where Tony Stark looks at Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange just looks at him and says, this is the moment. You get it now, right? This is the moment. I know you get it now. Then Tony somehow Swift Mickey's the stones away from Thanos and puts them onto his glove, which apparently his suit is just built for that. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't built for that. Maybe he didn't take that into consideration. But he uses the nanotech to make Jerry rig himself an Infinity Gauntlet. And Thanos says, I'm inevitable. Tony Stark says, okay, but I am Iron Man. He does a third snap, which who knows what was going on in Tony's head at that point. Because all we see is that his third snap turns out to be the eradication of Thanos' army.
Correct.
But what we've learned from Banner is that there could be so much more into the snap.
And now we're in time travel.
And now we're in time travel shenanigans.
Who knows what's going on?
Who knows what Tony was thinking when he snapped, and the results of the snap destroyed his human frail body, and Tony Stark dies. Iron Man dies at the end of this scene. He is the savior of the universe. Tony Stark, only one shot in a quadrillion. He did it. He won.
I am Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
I mean, all right, I'll take it.
Poignant
I
moment.
enjoyed it. It was
people crying.
I mean, I preferred it over than I am Captain America.
Yeah, it's fine.
You know, whatever.
Whatever. At this point, I'm already mad because the Infinity Gauntlet has become this horrible MacGuffin where technically it solved all the problems without any real thought.
I did like how Thor started to look like Odin too.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Had his old
He like this
like
old
look.
ruffled
I was like
Norse battle god.
That's good.
I like that look. I like his new look with the beard and like the braids in his beard.
Better than the Lebowski book.
You know, he was fine. But we're in the epilogue now, and this is one of the craziest epilogues I've seen in any movie ever. So we get to the funeral of Tony Stark, where it's a very Marvel Comics kind of scene where all the heroes are there. Because Marvel does this thing that whenever there is a wedding or a funeral, the cover of that comic has to be literally every single Marvel superhero on Earth or in space has to be on that cover. And that's what the the funeral of Tony Stark was. All of the Guardians were there. All of the major players. That weird kid from Iron Man 3 was there.
It was a sweet moment.
Sweet moment. Even Nick Fury got to have like a little cameo.
Yep, that was a sweet moment.
So, you know, they're taking care of his baby. You know, Pepper's kind of reserved in it. Happy Hogan's reserved in it. But then they're like, okay, Cap, we're relying on you to go back in time and put all the stones back. It's on you. And Cap's like, fine. I'm proud. I willed Mjolnir now. I should be fine. Right? So he goes put Mjolnir back. And they're like, okay, for you, it's going to be, for us, it's going to be 1 second. For you, it's going to be however long it takes. So they send Cap back in time because time travel is just anything now. There's no consequence to it. And they do the thing and he's not back in a second. Where's Cap? You lost him. You lost him in time. Where is he? And then they look to a bench and Bucky notices that there's maybe a 90-year-old Cap sitting on a bench with the Captain America shield, totally breaking protocol and probably causing more damage to the MCU than you think. Apparently, he went back in time. Once he finished everything, he went back in time and lived out his life with Peggy. He lived out a whole life. No, yeah, he wasn't supposed to do that.
Back to the Future. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna stay with the girl.
So let me get to. So he got to live that life, and that was his reward for all of the fighting and sacrifice and losses that he feels he's deserved.
Correct.
And I love Cap, and I think it's a poignant thing, and I think it's very sweet how they did that. But honestly, that wasn't part of the plan, and God knows what kind of irreparable damage he's caused by doing this.
My question is, seeing as both Falcon and Bucky were both
there,
Captain America
at some point, yeah, absolutely.
How did they? You being the comic person, yeah. What's the significance of Bucky being like, you go talk to him versus Bucky becoming the next Captain America?
And thank you that's a very good question. And it's a little bit of a blend of the comics and a blend of the current state of the MCU. In the comics, when after Civil War, Captain America dies, and there has to be a Captain America. So Bucky took it upon himself to carry the shield because he feels like his Captain America's death at the time was his fault. He was like, there's no way, I'm not a super soldier. I have this one strong arm and I'm very well trained, but I'm not a super soldier. I don't know how to do this. So it was a growing experience for Bucky. Whereas in the MCU, him saying, you know what, Sam, this is on you. Is that currently, in the eyes of the world, Bucky Barnes is a war criminal who destroyed a consulate and is currently being under investigation of every foreign country, including Wakanda. So when it makes sense to put Bucky as the forefront of Captain America, mind you, unless there's going to be a whole lot of splaining to do, which they're probably not going to want to iron out. Whereas Sam has been...
They're not going to want to iron out that explaining.
No.
As we have seen.
He's a war criminal, dude.
Okay.
He's super bad news. He has too much blood on he has too much red in his ledger to be the face of America. Okay. Whereas Sam Wilson has been there the whole time. He's been Cap's right-hand man. He's been fighting it ever since, what was it? Civil War?
Yeah.
And he's been Captain America as well. So, comic book significance is he was the best fit, and it makes the most sense in the MCU for him to be Captain America over Bucky, even if chronologically in the comics this doesn't work out that way. Right. So I'm totally okay with it.
All right, makes sense. I was just wondering. I didn't have anything good or bad.
Yep. So
regardless, it wrapped up. I mean, at this stage, I was just like, okay, whatever.
The last stage of the film was you going back in time to see Cap living his best life with his best girl, and they kiss, and it's a very sweet, poignant moment of Cap being like, I'm in heaven. He might as well have died and gone to heaven.
I'm really not sure why that was the last scene of
I'm okay with that's
like the
for
film.
Me.
I mean, I guess when you look at Captain America, the first Avengers, and the way it opens, it does make some sense, but from like just the casual, from the casual fans' expectation, it's kind of a weird time jump to end on.
And you know what? I will say this, that both Endgame and Infinity War both had bad endings. endings that just gut punched you.
Infinity War was fantastic. This did not do anything to me.
But the ending was a bummer ending.
I mean,
Endgame was a weirdly not bummer ending, but it wasn't I'm pumped and I love Avengers, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay. I don't know how to feel after that. It left you with no smoke.
I knew exactly how to feel after I saw that. I felt as though it was a meteor experience, with the exception of the last hour where they gave me like what they had been building up to. And that and I got to give my final thoughts because this is kind of where we're at. Like, look, it's a superhero movie. Yep. You made 20 hours of superhero movies.
Yep.
The last 2 hours, you don't really need to put anything on screen except for a bunch of explosions, superpowers, and whoever wins this thing.
Not really, because if this was like Avengers 1, maybe. But this is the end. It has to be some finality. There has to be some closure.
Like I said, you could have just ended it and someone won the thing. Like, I didn't need the 90-year time jump. We already opened up the time travel. Like,
so you'd have been happy.
Opened up to the multiverse. Like you've already did all this stuff.
So you would have been happy with Iron Man snap, the movie goes off?
I would, I could have lived with that. I could have lived.
I don't know, man.
I could have lived with an opening of getting the band back together. We're gonna do this time travel thing, and then them and young Thanos.
Okay. Do you think it should have been like in media res, where we start the film at the end of this battle, and we then catch up to it?
Like I said, I would have preferred to see it all as one experience. It would have felt more complete to me that way, and it would have, just like part 1 and part 2, it's hard to fulfill the promise of that part 1, and Harry Potter had that problem. I don't know about Twilight, but most films that I've seen that does this, they have that problem of finishing up that second one.
Forgot to mention, Thor is an Asgardian of the galaxy now. So that's where he's going. So we need a closure of the big three. Thor's closure was, I'm not the king of Asgard, and if it really wanted to be, I'm not. Valkyrie, this is on you. I'm going to go off into space and find myself. That's Thor's closure.
Right.
Iron Man's closure is death. You did what you were supposed to do. You can rest now. Cap's closure is, you got to live that life that you missed out on being frozen in the ice.
You can die now.
You can die now, right? Now, and another big thing with me is that this film is all about acceptance and closure. It's all about accepting what's happened and moving forward. But the problem is that this film doesn't move forward.
It doesn't move forward at all.
It doesn't give you the promise of anything new outside of time travel. There's no hints to anything that could be coming that's of major importance in the MCU. There's no setup for a new villain. There's no setup for a new point of interest.
In fact, if you want to call, honestly, all they really did is what we've been asking them not to do, which is leave an opening for people to come back with time travel versus actually just killing them off and being done with it. Because
no one's really gone.
As we look Far From Home, as we look into the next iteration and the bookend of this series, Spider-Man Far From Home, we're assuming that he's going into the multiverse, going to get ripped up and torn over, and probably see Natasha over here. God only knows.
But that could all be like Mysterio bullshit, though. Because it's Mysterio, and he does nothing but lies.
I'm just saying that
the door is opening for this.
We've seen Russos have a problem of killing their characters off and being done.
But the Russos are done, though. This is it for them. The Russos are done. They're no longer having any affiliation with Marvel stuff for a long time. This is it. This is the last of their participation. They're taking a 5-minute break.
All right, that makes sense.
They said they may come back to do. I can see the Russos coming back for X-Men. I can see them coming back to want to try to give a shot at X-Men, or even FF. But they're taking a break. They're gonna take a break this next phase, and all this next phase is going to be is cleanup for the X-Men and cleanup for the fans, setting the stage for those guys
and promotion for Disney.
Of course. The promotion never stops.
You have to pay $9.99 a month for their stuff for $7.99.
Do it. Give them money. So I know we've kind of been a little hard on this movie. You've been a little hard.
I feel like I haven't been hard. I'm just honest with each one of these movie going experiences, and as someone who when you're going, hey, you know what? Here's 10 years worth of movies. Here's how we're going to sum it up.
Okay, so we're gonna do two, because this movie's so damn big and it means so much. We're gonna do 2 sets of ratings here. Now, please rate this film in a white room. I have 0 out of 5 in a white room. If you can, what would you rate this film?
3. This movie is no better or no worse than Civil War to me.
I love Civil War.
And in fact, I was watching some bits and pieces of Age of Ultron, and I might like Age of Ultron better than this film.
Fair enough. Now,
my opinion.
In the macro, in the years and decade of Marvel history in film and the setup for all of this, with all that baggage, with all that hype and all that excitement, where do you rank this movie now? As a bookend, as a bow tie to 10 years of Marvel studio films.
I mean, it had to get tied up some way. Like, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
Let's put it this way. I'm not sure how many choices were out there because I'm not smart enough to have put any of this together.
I feel you. Same here.
You know, I'm going to go, bravo, hats off, way to go. You did at least tie it up. You know, I'm not left...
You're not left hanging.
Fucking Waterworld.
The stories of these characters is over.
Or even The Last Jedi. Like, I'm not left with the, like, what the hell
did I just watch?
Like,
what do we do now?
This is completely backwards than everything you just did.
There isn't a what do you do now feeling to this.
They didn't do any of that.
Because now this could be the end. They could honestly be like, that's it for the MCU. And this could be, and honestly, if they were smart, they would take some time off. But they're not. I would give the MCU 5 years. Let people miss it, and then come back hard. Because this is the biggest mic drop of hit in cinema history. This is the biggest mic drop in cinema history. If I was to put this film in a white room, I would probably rate it a 4 out of 5. After seeing it 3 times, if I would have saw it the first time, I would rate it like a 2.
I'm giving it like a 3.5.
Yeah, I would give it a 4 out of 5.
I'm giving it a step above average, and my only reason is a step above average is because for the time vested, the 3 hours and 1 minute, I don't think it was used efficiently.
I will say,
I think that they could have either shortened it. Or they could have just extended the damn thing out.
Even my first viewing that I didn't care for, it still was a quick 3 for me. I didn't feel
it's a quick 3.
I didn't feel that the movie dragged on.
That first 2
it had a lot. The story progression was, for what it was, the story progression was smooth. It was like chugging down a nice cold.
I can't get over that first 2 hours. I can't get over.
If I was to rate this film
2 hours
in the spectrum of all Marvel things, from I Am Iron Man to I Am Iron Man, it's a 5 out of 5. Like you said, it closes things out. It's the bookend to all of this. And when we're old men and we're showing this to our grandkids who don't care, we're going to show them these films in a vacuum. These 20 however odd films. And we're going to be like, this was an era. This was a time in our lives where Marvel took over the world. And they accomplished this feat almost effortlessly. There were some bumps in the road. Some would say that this was a bump in the road. But they close things out. All the characters. That's why there's nothing new. There's nothing new in this film. There's no new characters. There's no new plot devices. There's no new
time travel.
Time travel is the only thing that's new. Because there's no room.
Relatively big thing.
It's a huge thing because that is going to be that's going to be the next big thing for I think the next 4 or 5 phases for Marvel. Time travel. Because what can you do with time travel? You can do a lot. You can go back in time and put the X gene in somebody's fucking milk and create mutants in the 1920s.
Who are we getting? Who's the Avengers?
I don't know. Who's left? Who's left? We have
Professor Hulk?
Professor Hulk with a jacked up arm, Iron Man, Captain Marvel, War Machine, Bucky Barnes, New Captain America, the Guardians that are left.
The Guardians are the Guardians. They're not
the Avengers. Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, maybe. I don't know if she's an honorary Avenger.
She's not on Earth enough. I'm not going to put Captain Marvel as an Avenger.
No.
Not a
Earthly.
genuine.
Well,
when I think about when I think about Phase 1, 2, 3, we can say that we can say Black Widow, Iron Man, Captain America, Incredible Hulk, and freaking Black Panther, whoever else you want to throw in there is the other one, has been the center of this universe. Who are the characters that are going to be the center of this universe?
Oh, good question. Forward? Okay, I missed it. So the characters that are going to run this next thing are Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, and Black Panther.
So not necessarily the Avengers.
Nope. And if anything, we'll get a new Avengers somewhere down the line with a whole new lineup.
I mean, that's a strange amalgamation of 4 characters.
But that's Avengers, though. Throughout the history of Avengers.
It's Avengers. It's 4 Avengers.
Yeah.
With the 3 Avengers with the addition of Captain Marvel.
They'll add some other people. There'll be some new characters.
Well, I'm just saying that going off of what we're taking as the core going for... Oh, Black Panther. There you go.
Black Panther.
There's the 5th.
Because Black Panther...
There's the 5th.
I mean, Beast has been an Avenger.
There's the 5th.
So the Avengers team has always left room for shakeups, which I'm totally fine with.
But they have kept the 5 core Avengers.
Well, it's usually... Technically, it's just like the Justice League.
They put the 3 core Avengers on screen at the end.
You need 3 representatives. You need a Thor representative, you need a Cap representative, and you need a Iron Man representative. Just like with the Justice League, you need Superman, you need Batman, you need Wonder Woman. Right. Without that core, it's not the Justice League. So there will be a Captain America.
I mean, I know Spider-Man's going to be a leader because he did lead the Avengers for a little while. Yeah. So, you know.
He's going to grow into that role, but I mean...
I'm not even sure Doctor Strange is necessarily going to be in that core group because that dude's got to get... Him and Captain Marvel, they got
stuff to do.
They got stuff to do. Man, like...
So I think you're going to get a Thor representative, maybe Valkyrie. You're going to get an Iron Man representative, maybe some new blood.
I guess Thor could come back. They never said anything.
Yeah, Thor can come back. He's on a break. And you have Sam Wilson as Cap.
And
you know what? Time travel. You can go pluck a Captain America from any point in time and say, hey, dude.
My biggest fear is that they make all of this irrelevant with time travel.
Hey, if Robert Downey Jr. was to come back for a movie, time travel.
I'm fully expecting to see Robert Downey Jr. back.
You know what I would love? If Tony Stark downloaded his brain into a Jarvis-like operating system?
Well, that's what they're saying is the rumor, but I would actually like to see Tony Stark as like Tony Stark. Cause,
yeah, it's going to be some time travel shenanigans. You already know.
You know, Robert Downey Jr. He's going to be awesome as Tony Stark.
He's just not tied into this stuff as hard anymore. And right. I'm sure he's happy with that he can now do these films piecemeal.
You know, $15 million paycheck is still a paycheck.
Hey, you're not going to turn that money down.
You know what
like I said.
You want to come back as like $12 million for like 20 minutes?
He's like, fine.
I'm good.
I'm in between stuff. For a flashback. So I think that overall, Avengers Endgame is a good film. And on the backdrop of what came before it and on the potential what's coming after, I think it had very big shoes to fill. The biggest shoes to fill. And for the most part, after multiple viewings, I would say that this film accomplished what it needed to do, which is close out the series. It wasn't adding anything new. It didn't remove anything old, but it did what it needed to do, which was close out these heroes as arcs. And that's what it did. In a very poignant, very kind of like walk down memory lane kind of way. Do you have any passing thoughts before we close this bad boy out?
No passing thoughts except, Professor Hulk better impressed going forward.
All I know is that they said that the damage to Hulk's arm was permanent. So he's going to be a one-armed Hulk.
I'll take that. As long as he's wrecking shit.
No, he'll wreck shit once Universal gives the rights back to Marvel, which is not going to happen. So if you've liked this review of Avengers Endgame and want to hear more of our content, me and Brian do a kick-ass review of Mortal Kombat. That's actually one of my favorite reviews on the channel. You can definitely go to our website, which is mastersnerdiversecast.com, where you can listen to all of our archived episodes. And you can visit our Twitter, which is @mnerdiverse, where we do fun things like do polls and memes and all types of crazy social media induced trauma. You can also leave a like if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts. Please leave a review. Let us know how we did. Do you agree with us? Do you absolutely disagree with us? Let us know, because we're always trying...
I'd like to hear.
Yeah, I want to know what you guys think, especially about this film. because I know a lot of people feel a certain way about it, and as you heard, so did we. I'm of course your host, Mike G.
I am Brian. Thank you for having me, Mike G.
Much
appreciated to be on.
It's always a pleasure, my man. And as always, we will ask you to look towards the skies. Look towards the skis.